Welcome back to the second half of the round of 32 for LEGO Wars Series 6. Last time out it was the battle of the channel mascots as Aggrorbers survived the onslaught to sink Sweepy while the defending champs
Slamo
edged past White Hole to keep their title defense alive. This week it's the right hand side of the bracket's turn to enter the arena, so let's remind ourselves of the robots fighting tonight.
First, from Bristol, Antithesis.
The rookies know regardless of their end result this series they are the best placing crusher in Series 6 and could be a dark horse to go far.
From Brighton, Bricker Brother.
While Bricker Brothers' record of making the bracket remains intact, this has been a major upgrade in performance compared to previous years and will be one of the favourites for the title.
From Corsham, Cowtools.
The sophomore campaigner delivered some solid hits in their heat to finish top, but speed has been an issue and they need a little boost to keep their charge going.
From Devon, Cronblow.
After faltering in the play-ins last series, Cron has come back in anger as they look to get to the top 16 for the first time since Series 3.
Palo Alto, California, and seeded number 2, Duck.
As ever, Duck was consistent in its heat but didn't exactly wow the field, so it might need to rely again on its staying power to grind out the victory.
From Titusville, Florida, and seeded number 27, Kraken.
In both of its play-in fights, the former grand finalist came back from losing positions to win, and foes will be wary at the pitch should it get into that position again.
From Bristol, Luchador.
It was a strong showing from the lifter in its main series debut as it toppled 23 red, but the Mingo fight exposed some weaknesses in the frame that they'll need to protect.
From Cowes, Isle of Wight, and seeded number 7, Megalodon.
For the second time in 3 years, Megalodon has had to crawl out of the play-ins to make the bracket, but they remain a threat with that big drum out the front.
From Coventry, Monsoon.
In what turned out to be one of the weaker heats of Series 6, Monsoon showed it could grind out a result with 3 JD wins, however none of those were much to write home about and it needs to show some of that spark from 2 seasons ago to keep going.
From South Shields, Polymorph.
There seemed to be something of a curse afflicting Polymorph's foes in its heat and that has knocked it down a couple ranks, but that unpredictability might help them to go far.
From Alcatraz, California, Project Shadow.
It was a stealthy performance from Shadow in the heats as despite the spinner not being 100%, it drove superbly to stay in the fight as they aim to go one better than last series.
From Cambridge, Massachusetts, and seeded number 17, Riperoni.
The former international champs are back in the bracket and looks to have fixed their weapon at last, so underestimate them at your peril.
From East Harlingen, seeded number 25, Shatter.
It was mission accomplished in the heats as the retiring veterans surged to victory and all going well they can keep the party going a little longer.
From Sutton and seeded number 15, Sir Frog.
The second series running, Frog has lined up with a 26th ranking and based off of last year that's a good omen for another upset.
From Mountain View, California and seeded number 12, Tantrum.
The Fourth Wars champs were back to their best in the heats and after the demise of Orby they have to be considered one of the favourites for the title.
From Mountain View, California and seeded number 28, the Twins.
Crotter and Bronco did well to make a second bracket appearance, but they do still struggle to dish out damage and some solid strategy is required to keep them afloat. Let's pick up where we left off in the bracket down in the bottom right corner with 2 bots making their second appearance in the bracket with Monsoon and Project Shadow.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Away we go for the second half of the round of 32. Starting things off, we have Project Shadow, the number 6 ranked machine for the bracket, against Monsoon, the number 27. Monsoon runners-up of Heat B, where they finished on 7 points. Every single fight they had went to time and the judges, so be sure to bet on a 3-minute fight here. And they'll take on Project Shadow, the number 6 ranked robot. They won Heat D, getting 2 knockout wins and 2 JD wins to get to this stage. A decent looking run ahead for Project Shadow with that horizontal angle spinner. Monsoon with the vertical spinner currently spinning the wrong way, that's no good for them. Can they bring it into bear on Project Shadow? Project Shadow trying to get around to the sides maybe and try and wipe away those protective drive panels of Monsoon, I suppose. Maybe that's their tactic. Part of the front end of Monsoon has disintegrated itself. Project Shadow trying to manoeuvre around to the sides of Monsoon, doesn't really get any major hits off there, and the Project Shadow weapon has now stopped spinning. Up to speed again goes Monsoon. Monsoon spinning that weapon up the right way this time as well. It is reversible, so if it gets turned over it can use it in the same way that the heavyweight Monsoon can do so. But at the moment, Project Shadow, the number 6 ranked robot, looking a little bit uncertain. Their weapon not currently spinning, and that will be a concern for them. They'll be hoping to try and get their weapon into action and try and cause some problems for Monsoon throughout this fight, although so far you have to say it's pretty lackluster from both of these two, maybe pacing themselves to ensure that they get through to the next round. Monsoon up to speed once again. There's Project Shadow's weapon also up to speed. Will we see a big hit between the two? No, we don't. Very cagey between these two at the moment. Both of them know that the other one can potentially cause some enormous damage and destruction to them. Project Shadow trying to manoeuvre around to the sides of Monsoon. Doesn't really get a big shot off there. Monsoon inevitably comes back, but doesn't really cause damage either. Very cagey between these two. A place in the round of 16 at stake. And so far, well, this fight could have been an email, couldn't it? It really has been a bit lackluster from the pair of them. Monsoon forces Project Shadow back into the corner. Project Shadow tries to respond in turn and push Monsoon back, struggling for pushing power themselves. Gets away from Monsoon's clutches. Monsoon with another shot there, doesn't really cause much damage. Project Shadow now shaking a little bit, maybe part of the weapon has broken off, I'm not too sure. Project Shadow stays still in the centre of the arena. We are going to go to time between these two. It has not been a classic at all to start the night off. I do apologise, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else in between, but it is going to go to time for a fifth successive fight for Monsoon. We go to the judges, and as Project Shadow drives down the pit out of sympathy. But that kind of sums up the fight, really, doesn't it? Certainly this fight was not one you'd write home to your mother about, but I have to say it was a tentative and tense affair between the two. The two weapons did come to blows on occasion. We did see early damage there to Monsoon. Will that be crucial in the eyes of the judges? Project Shadow going for the pit button. Monsoon were the ones I felt chasing Project Shadow for the majority of the fight, but it was not a clear-cut win for either of these two, was it? And a definite improvement will have to be made for the next round.
And the winner by unanimous decision is Project Shadow. Not exactly a statement win, but Shadow just does enough to do one better than its display last series. They will go on to face the winner of our next battle tonight between the Twins and Antithesis.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
The 14 versus 19 fight then. The 14 being Antithesis, the winners of Heat K on 9 points, taking on the runners-up of Heat A, the Twins. With the 28 seeds coming into LEGO War Series 6, they are ranked 19 for the bracket, and they of course finish on 8 points behind Aggro Wobber. They were almost unbeaten in their heat. They were thoroughly defeated though by Slammo in the final fight of the heat, and it prevented them from winning the heat on that occasion. Antithesis did a pretty good job for a rookie coming into its heat. Of course, it beat Panic Attack to get to this stage as well, one of the many fights that it won in that heat. They were very, very impressive, Antithesis, for a rookie. But here in the bracket, a different calibre of opponent. One of the Twins stands off, comes towards Antithesis. One of them's got them clutched in the jaws, though. I believe that is Broncle in the claws there of Antithesis, and the front end of Antithesis has been peeled back once again. We saw in the heat it struggled when the ground game at the front was compromised, and maybe that's going to happen again here. The Twins in the ascendancy. Antithesis goes for the pit button. I think they know that their time is running out here. We've now got Crotto and Broncle teaming up, trying to push Antithesis towards the pit. One of the wheels is hovering over the pit. And Antithesis, they've had a great run for their rookie campaign in LEGO War Series 6. But I don't think they're going to progress any further than this. They're stuck on the pit, and the two Twins are taking each other on. They're so confident they've won the fight. They're fighting each other. Well, they know they've won the fight. They're going to progress through to the round of 16 to fight Project Shadow. And Antithesis is going home in the round of 32. They're beaten and out. The winners, very easily, are the Twins. A great debut campaign for Antithesis comes to an abrupt end as they ran into the brick wall that was the Twins. As soon as that ground game at the front came off Antithesis, it was very much a losing battle for them. This is the key damage of the fight, I feel. They were compromised from then on in. That massively hampers their effectiveness, and as soon as they had that happen to them, they were kind of cornered behind the 8-ball, if you like. Antithesis stuck over the pit, and despite the friendly fire at the end, the Twins progressed to the round of 16.
Poor Antithesis gets ganged up on the pit corner and stranded for the count-out to send Broncle and Crotto through. Now I can feel the air is tense around the arena as two stars of the series renew their rivalry. Tantrum and Duck have fought before at this very stage in Series 3, where it was the then reigning international champs that were humbled by the 30th ranked rookies. The 360 lifter did get their revenge more recently in the All-Star Special, so this could really go either way.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Time then for a proper heavyweight clash in the round of 32. We have Tantrum, the former LEGO Wars champions, the number 11 ranked robot for the bracket, taking on Duck, the current runners-up of LEGO Wars, and the number 22 ranked robot for the bracket. Tantrum winning Heat I on a total of 9 points, which is a good return to form for the former champions. Duck finishing second in Heat N behind Cow Tools on 7 points to get them to this stage. Duck, of course, 2 times former runners-up, and they're taking on Tantrum, of course, a former champion. So lots of pedigree. These two have fought twice before in the past. Currently, it's 1 apiece between the two, so this is very much the decider to see who can go through to the round of 16 between Duck and Tantrum, 2, as I said, storied in elite-level robots in LEGO Wars, who will progress through to the next round from the round of 32. It says a lot about the quality of the strength and depth of the field that these two are fighting in the round of 32 on ranking. And Duck trying to force Tantrum back towards the pit. Can they get them down? Not quite. Tantrum gets away, spins the weapon the wrong way, and Duck back on the attack once again. Good aggression here from Duck early on. Seems to me that they're the ones in the ascendancy in terms of pushing power. Of course, Tantrum has that incredible weapon in the middle as well, which can be so effective at times. They've caused untold amounts of damage to all kinds of competitors in the past, and Tantrum here will be hoping to get a good run after last series' disaster, really, let's face it, for their campaign, or for their very high standards, I should say. Duck trying to force Tantrum back once again, though, trying to get that bill in underneath and try and toss. Maybe Tantrum upside down, Tantrum up to speed once more, trying to get some damage and aggression points onto Duck. Duck, meanwhile, are they suffering a little bit with their turning circle? No, they seem okay to me. Forcing Tantrum back towards the pit. Can't get them down yet, though. Tantrum too smart for that. Tantrum now trying to reverse that and force Duck down the pit. The Duck pushing power and the Tantrum pushing power seems very even to me at the moment. Tantrum forcing Duck back, doesn't quite manage to get it over the line yet though. Tantrum to speed once again. Duck lifts the lifting arm into the weapon and gets it stopped still once again. Very tentative fight between two juggernauts of the arena, but who will progress through to the round of 16 out of these two? Tantrum, the disc spinner in the middle. Is it a drum? Is it a disc? Get the chart out. I have no idea. The weapon of Tantrum certainly has caused damage to Duck, and Duck now very close to the edge of the pit, and we're going to get a tie between these two. Unsurprisingly, two absolute stalwarts in the arena. One of these two are going to have to go out, though, in the round of 32. Between Tantrum and Duck, we go to time, and we go to the judges. Good luck for you guys on that one, because that was a tight fight. Well, unsurprisingly, two of the very best robots in the field cancelling each other out for the third time when these two are fought as well. They know each other's weaknesses and strengths, and they both played against each other quite well here, I felt. I have no idea which way this one's going to go. I suppose Duck was the aggressor early on. Tantrum came back strongly towards the end, and Duck did seem to be struggling a little bit with thermal cutout towards the end of the fight. Over to the judges. I have no idea.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Tantrum. No three-peat grand final appearance for Duck this series as they grind to a halt at the end of that slugfest, as Tantrum confirms all 4 champs still standing have survived the round of 32. Our next champs could well have a rematch of their grand final next week should the play-in winners Kraken find a way past Bricker Brother.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Off we go then for the 3 versus 30 fight, the 3 being held by Bricker Brother, the winner of Heat C, and comfortably the winner of Heat C, it has to be said, although that heat was an absolute fever dream, so let's not get carried away with how good Bricker Brother could be. They take on Kraken, the number 30. They were seeded 27 for the main competition, and they made it to this stage via the play-ins. They there beat Foxic and Nibbler to get to this stage, and they're taking on Bricker Brother, who are of course recovering after a very decent heat performance. Like I said, they won the heat in some style, but the heat was fairly weak, it has to be said, so maybe a little bit of a pinch of salt to see how good Bricker Brother actually is. Kraken with the weapon flailing at the front. Bricker Brother thinks about diving for the pit button, thinks better of it though. Kraken towards the screws, gets away now. Bricker Brother does now go for the pit button. They think they've got the pushing power and the drive power to push Kraken down the pit. Of course, Kraken, a former runner-up of LEGO Wars back in Series 3. No, it wasn't. It was Series 4. Ignore me. And Bricker Brother pushed back towards the pit there and almost goes down the pit, but just about gets away in the nick of time. My goodness. Well, that was very impressive from Bricker Brother. Good recovery there and a good lift by Bricker Brother as well. Hoisting Kraken into the air and trying to clamp down, but the weapon doesn't quite manage to do so though. Towards the screws and a good lift again by Bricker Brother. And Kraken here, despite that early impressive start, almost got Bricker Brother down the pit, now under pressure from Bricker Brother, and the drive panel has been peeled away as well by the lifter of Bricker Brother, and Bricker Brother now showing why they're the rank 3 for the bracket. They've been very, very strong so far this series, and they're doing pretty well here of keeping Kraken honest. I'd say in terms of pedigree, Kraken are probably the stronger of the two, but Bricker Brother here showing why they are not to be taken lightly and are doing a very decent job. This of course for a place in the next round against Tantrum. We know that Kraken have fought Tantrum before in the LEGO Wars Series 4 final. Be interested to see how they both get on in a rematch against one another. Bricker Brother will be hoping for a spot against Tantrum themselves. Very similar, I feel like, in terms of like sort of DNA are Tantrum and Bricker Brother. I think that'll be quite an interesting fight between the two if Bricker Brother were to get through. Lifting up Kraken once again there. Bricker Brother, they started pretty slowly, didn't they, Bricker Brother? But they're now starting to get a little bit of confidence in the fight, a little bit of a momentum swing in their favour, I think. Bricker Brother doing pretty well at the moment to kind of keep in the fight and keep aggressive, and that lifter has proven to be very effective in this fight, trying to lift Kraken once again, doesn't quite manage to do so. Kraken now in underneath and forcing Bricker Brother back against the arena sidewall. And we're going to go to time again between these two, and the judges are going to have to be called into action once more, unless there's a rapid change at the end of the fight. And Bricker Brother, I thought almost we're going to drive down the pit, but they don't. We go to time between the two, and the judges will have to deliberate once again. Well, another tentative and close fight between these two. Early on, I would say Kraken were the ones in the ascendancy. They almost got the fight over and done with right there, with Bricker Brother hanging for dear life over the edge of the pit. They escaped, and from then on, Bricker Brother really came into their own. Really, they started to systematically pull Kraken apart and lift them over and over again. Kraken were able to respond on a few occasions, but for me, Bricker Brother were the ones in the ascendancy throughout this fight.
And the winner by unanimous decision is Bricker Brother. They didn't quite topple the former grand finalists, but Bricker controlled the pace to move on to the top 16 for the first time since Series 2. With just one quadrant left to finalise, let's jump up to the top right corner as Cronblow takes on Luchador.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Away we go for the 15 versus 18 fight. They're two very evenly matched robots in terms of ability. Say our selection committee, Luchador were the runners-up of Heat L, where they were finished in second place to Iron Mingo. Cronblow were the runners-up of Heat D, where they finished runners-up to Project Shadow. Luchador ranked at 15, Cronblow at 18. Cronblow, I'd say, has had its best series in quite a few years. This is the first time they've made it to the bracket since Series 4. Luchador, of course, never made it to the bracket because this is their first LEGO Wars campaign thus far. You'd have to say Luchador has probably been the more impressive and the more active of the two robots, although Cronblow having a good bit of aggression there, pushing Luchador into the screws, or at least the housing of the screws. Luchador retreats to the centre of the arena and gets in underneath Cronblow again and rips the face off of Cronblow. Cronblow pushes back though. Good action so far from both of these two. You'd have to say pretty even Stevens, and good action in the arena as well, was what we want to see. A good little control fight between these two. The front ends meet and clash, and who's got the better ground game at the moment? You'd probably say just about maybe Cronblow getting in underneath more often than not. A good control by Cronblow once again, forcing Luchador back over the arena floor spikes, or at least in that general direction. Luchador retreats to try and bring that front end into play once again, but Cronblow can spin on a dime a little bit happier than Luchador can, and Luchador struggling now to get round to the side of Cronblow in turn. Lifts up the lift there. Sorry, my voice went a little bit hoarse for a second there. Cronblow trying their best once again to keep chasing Luchador down, and they're doing pretty well at doing that actually. I think they've been superior in terms of pushing power this far. Maybe the lifting arm of Luchador a little bit more effective than Cronblow's 4-bar lifter, although you have to say it's pretty even in that aspect as well. Two very similar robots in terms of how they want to win the fight, but so far, in terms of effectiveness, I'd probably just about give it to Cronblow. Pit button partially activated there by Luchador. Luchador forced into the arena, screws. Into the centre of the arena they go once again. The pit's still not fully down, and Cronblow forces Luchador back once more. Luchador stuck by the screws. Can they get away from there? They can now if they choose to do so. But they don't do. They now do. They get away into the centre of the arena once again. But there is Cronblow ready to meet them. Good forcing back again here from Luchador. Up goes the lifter. Doesn't quite manage to get any purchase on Cronblow. Cronblow forces its way back into the fight again. This is a really good driving fight between these two, and forces Luchador onto the lip of the pit, but gets away because the pit isn't fully down. Oh, there'll be some controversial comments about that one. Maybe on another day Luchador just goes down the pit, especially if Luchador don't win this. But I have to say, Cronblow, for my money, has been the one in the ascendancy in this fight, and a good lift though right at the end from Luchador. This is a really tough one, and it's going to go to time once again. The judges being kept very busy tonight, and Luchador here, I think, has been on the backward step a bit more than Cronblow has, but I'm not a judge. We go to time between these two, Cronblow and Luchador. That was a fantastic display of driving skill and ability. It's an interesting fight, this one, because for my 2 cents, I feel like Luchador should win weapon effectiveness as it had the more offensive weaponry and was able to lift Cronblow several times. Didn't quite manage to get it over, but were able to lift Cronblow. Whereas Cronblow's weapon, we didn't really get to see it much in the fight itself. But for every other aspect of the fight, Cronblow was superior. Driving skill, maneuverability, aggression, control, it was all Cronblow, and I feel like they have to go through as a result.
And the winner by split decision is Cronblow. A little bit of controversy in the arena as Cronk moves on to the top 16. It has been a very JD heavy night tonight, so hopefully we can break that trend with 2 spinners taking to the arena in Riperoni and Cowtools.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Away we go then for the 10 versus 23 fight. The 10 being Cowtools, the winner of Heat N, beating Duck into second place. And the 23 being Riperoni, our former international champions of 2023, who were second place in Heat I, beaten there into first by Tantrum. Cowtools in the round of 32 for the second year in a row in its 2 series. There's Mini Milk as well in the arena. Riperoni trying to bring that big spinning wheel into play. They did a pretty good job in its heat, but of course didn't win in the end. Tantrum too strong on that occasion. Mini Milk has been bashed about by Riperoni, and there's the undercutter spinner, side spinner, thagomizer spinner, whatever you want to call it, of Cowtools coming into play. Riperoni, of course, most recently were in the International Special Final once again, where they lost in the final to a horizontal, but Mini Milk at the moment is bearing the brunt of Riperoni's anger, and so much damage has been sustained by Mini Milk. I'm surprised they're still running, but they are still functioning. But I will say this, one of the wheels of Riperoni is sort of compromised. It's the little wheel. It's not tracking truly, or at least it wasn't for a while. It is again now, or is it pinned? It is pinned. Riperoni slams into Mini Milk once again, has been completely ruined and is disintegrating by the second, but Cowtools is the one who has caused the meaningful damage here to their opponents. Riperoni, that little wheel isn't at its happiest, certainly. Cowtools goes for the pit button. They think they've got enough to get Riperoni down the pit. Well, Mini Milk's gone down the pit, that's for certain. Riperoni trying to bring that weapon into play once again on Cowtools. Cowtools stops its own weapon. Is there a problem with the Cowtools horizontal spinner? Maybe. Riperoni up to speed once again. Even Stevens now. No mini-bot assistance for Cowtools, but damage certainly to the lid of Cowtools there, being prized away by Riperoni's big spinning disc. We've seen it claim victim in the past, and despite the early onslaught from Cowtools and the earlier concerns for Riperoni's wheel, it's certainly functioning better than Cowtools is now. Look at Cowtools being slowly torn to pieces by Riperoni, the former international champions. Cowtools, no honours to their name thus far in their career, but they're coming up against a former event winner in Riperoni, and Riperoni looking good now. potentially for a place in the round of 16. At the moment, though, Cowtool's still in the fight. Not long to go in the fight. Lots of fights to go to the judges tonight. Will this be another one? Cowtool still in the action for now. Riperoni certainly in the ascendancy, coming on strong late in the fight. We are indeed going to go to time once again between these two. So the judges will have their work cut out once more to decide a winner between Riperoni and Cowtool. I think Cowtool started the fight much stronger. Riperoni ending on a massively high note. That'll be the lasting impact for the judges. In the opening exchanges of the fight then, it was Cowtool's in the ascendancy. They were able to bring their thagomising tail into the side of Riperoni on more than one occasion. Riperoni were mostly focused on trying to destroy poor old Minimilk, which of course they eventually did do. Cowtools were able to bring that weapon into play and damage the small wheel. You can kind of see the chassis breaking in underneath the robot there, but Minimilk was the focus of their attention, maybe wisely, because after Minimilk went down the pit, Riperoni turned its attention to Cowtools and started pulling it apart.
The winner, by unanimous decision, is Riperoni. The
International
champs finally get a win in the main series bracket as those faltering batteries scream enough for Cowtools. They will face the winners of our penultimate fight of this round between the Seed Sir Lancer Frog and the Bizarre Polymorph.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Off we go for the 7 versus 26 fight. The 7 being Polymorph, the winner of whatever Heat J was. And the the 26 being Sir Lancer Frog, who are runners-up in Heat H behind Mr. Waffle on 7 points. Polymorph with 11 points in their respective heat. They were fortunate in the sense that every other robot in that heat was basically terrible. The fact that Harold qualified from that heat says quite a lot. So Lancer Frog probably in some ways goes into this as favourites. They were seeded last time around, they made it to the round of 16. They'll be hoping to repeat that this time round, although Polymorph has caused a lot of damage already to Sir Lancer Frog and has been ripping into the frog over and over again because they're using the face spinner in this fight. It's probably their most effective weapon in the heats. And at this stage, well, this is say probably Lancer Frog's toughest challenge so far. Lancer Frog almost went straight down the pit there, and Polymorph, if they had some serious drive power, would have probably capitalised and sent Sir Lancer Frog down the pit. Didn't do so, so Lancer Frog survive and live to fight another day, but some questionable driving there from the amphibian. Polymorph trying to bring that big spinning face spinner into play. It's proven effective so far in not only this fight but throughout the series, to be fair. You know, I said that they won Heat J almost by default, but they were actually quite handy in that heat, to give them credit at all. There was a moment there where Sir Lancer Frog almost got in underneath and had the opportunity to live Polymorph over again. They had another chance there. They're able to get in underneath twice now, but more damage sustained to Sir Lancer Frog. The rear armour panel has been ripped away. The top armour panel has been ripped away. Polymorph is the one in the ascendancy in terms of weapon effectiveness, certainly. Control and aggression, I'm not too sure. But certainly that weapon of Polymorph has been the one that's caused the most problems for their opponents. And Sir Lancer Frog looking a little bit more naked than it was at the start of the fight. Polymorph's weapon up to speed once again. Only checked when it comes into contact with the body shell of Sir Lancer Frog, which is rapidly losing parts now. On the arena spikes goes the frog, up goes the lifter, down goes the lifter again. They've not really landed a decent jab yet, have they? They've not really had the opportunity to get in underneath fully and turn over their opponent, or at least attempt to turn over their opponent. Now there's a chance, but they missed the opportunity again. Good driving by Polymorph, and the lifter of Sir Lancer Frog is now bent and twisted. It's not sitting flush on the floor anymore, and that's going to compromise how effective that weapon's going to be. And Polymorph, more and more points in their favour. Certainly at the moment, Polymorph, I would say, on top. Sir Lancer Frog are running out of options here, running out of time. Maybe it'll go to the judges once again here. In fact, there is the timer. So for the 6th time tonight out of 7 fights, we are going to go to the judges. There's a 6-7 joke in there somewhere if you want to use it. We got a tie between the two. Polymorph and Sir Lancer Frog go to time, and our judges are once again called into action. Key factor for me in this fight is that when there were opportunities for Polymorph to get their opponent, they took them. When Sir Lancer Frog had those opportunities to try and get their opponents turned over, they didn't take them. Almost drove themselves down the pit. There was an opportunity for Lancer Frog, didn't take it. There were more opportunities like that where they got in underneath and weren't able to turn Polymorph over, and that really cost them. Here was another one, I think, or maybe it was later on, I can't remember. The weapon twisting at the end really was the final nail in the coffin, in my opinion.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Polymorph. After a somewhat charmed performance in the heats, this was by some margin Polymorph's best display as they beat up Frog to set up a date with Rip next round, leaving us with just one spot left to fill between the fellow backyard bros Megalodon and Shatterstar. So let's see if Shatterstar can continue their farewell tour, or will the 7th seeds continue their charge back to the grand final.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Away we go then for our final fight of the round of 32. We have Shatterstar, the number 2, against Megalodon, the number 31. Shatterstar, the winners of Heat M. They won all of their fights. One via JD, the rest via knockout. And of course we have Megalodon. They made their way through the play-ins after they finished 3rd in Heat D behind Project Shadow and Cronblow. They beat Rob and they beat Ganymede to get to this stage, only to fight their stablemates in Shatterstar. Shatterstar, of course, recovering from an appalling LEGO Wars Series 4, it has to be said. They had a real tough time last series, but they've recovered well, won their heat in some style. Of course, they were finalists in LEGO Wars Champions. They were also All-Stars winners in the past. So, lots of pedigree in this fight. Megalodon, no such honours to their name yet, but they were a top 8 placing robot last time around. They'll have to go some to get there this time. They've got a tough match in this fight, and of course a prize against Cronblow in the next round should either of these two go through. Shatterstar at the moment doing pretty well to kind of stay faced up to their opponents. The axe kind of hanging in the air, but there goes a track, I think, yes it was, of Shatterstar, and that's going to massively limit their opportunities in this fight now. Shatterstar's track has been split away. They're going to really struggle to manoeuvre, and I think that is going to be the killer blow that puts Megalodon through to the round of 16. Shatterstar looking like a bit of a wounded animal in the corner, being boxed in there by Megalodon now. The spinning drum is looking pretty good. And Shatterstar, I think they're high-centered on that discarded bit of track as well. It's been a brilliant LEGO Wars for Shatterstar. But Megalodon, the new apex predator in the arena, there goes the entire wedge. Look at that. Have you ever seen that before? The entire wedge of Shatterstar being ripped away, completely dismembered. And Megalodon here in the ascendancy, looking very, very good, and will fight Cronblow, I think, in the round of 16, unless they absolutely throw it away from here, but I don't think they will. I think Shatterstar is done for. They're more damage sustained. They're dead on one side. They can't get out of that corner. They're being counted down and counted out. Megalodon is going to make it through to the round of 16 to fight Cronblow. Shatterstar, despite an amazing run in the heat, are going home at this stage. Megalodon go through the play-ins and recover and win in the round of 32, and they knock out the 2 seed. A bit of a sad end to Shatterstar's career in LEGO Wars, as this may be the last time we see it, according to the builder Jevon, so we may have to say goodbye to Shatterstar on a bit of a low note, but let's remember all the amazing moments that they've given us, not only in this series, but throughout LEGO Wars history. A word of credit as well to Megalodon. They took their opportunities, they ripped the track off of Shatterstar almost from the word go, and from then on in, it was one-way traffic. Shatterstar well beaten. Megalodon through to the round of 16.
Megalodon ends up breaking their stablemate's heart as Shatterstar's LEGO Wars career ends in the round of 32 to complete the lineup for the next round. It's been a tough old night in the arena with JDs galore, but we have our top 16 all wrapped up with a right old mix of rookies and veterans, while 4 of our series champs remain in the running for a second title. That's all from us tonight, but join us next time when we'll run through the round of 16 in its entirety. For now though, I've been your host David Smeg, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, just do drama alert.
Oh, God, we've got
I
thousands.
should. That would be so good.
What's up, gamers?
I'm your host. Killer Keystar. Let's get right into the news.
Why is everyone still giving me hate?
This is like this just in. Will Thomas bald.